everyone, welcome back to Alkaline Hydroxide 784. Today we are, going to interview my dad. Say hi.
Hi.
Yeah, so you might be wondering why am I suddenly interviewing my dad, and that's because I'm thinking of, doing this new thing where I interview professionals or, like about their previous jobs or their current jobs, and, you guys can learn more about it in the process. Yes. So now I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself and, tell about the past job experience that you're going to be talking about.
Oh, okay. Hi. Hello, all. My name is Jayaraman Subramanian. So I'm normally called as Jaya for a short form because many people find it difficult to pronounce my name. So yeah, so I'm Jaya, and I have been working in information technology field for the past 38 years. I started working from 1983 until 2021 when I semi-retired from my information technology line of job. So in the initial period, I was doing various roles, right from computer operations to programming to team leads, all the way up to becoming a development manager, and then as a project manager, and finally I was doing like a program management role. So today's, I think the interest is in the project management role, which I have been doing for the past 20 years. So that's what I would like to talk about and share my thoughts about it. Hopefully, at least one or two of you will find at least a part of it useful. Than you know made the objective of this interview, I suppose.
Yes, so as mentioned, we are going to be looking at the role of a project manager. So now let us start with some questions. So the first one is, basically about your perspectives and your experiences as a project manager. So first, could you introduce to everyone what a project manager is?
Okay, so before I say what is a project manager, probably maybe most of you would be aware, but it's better to say what is a project in the first place. So project is actually a temporary endeavor undertaken to meet a defined objective. So it could be defined services or a product or a result that we are looking for, and it is temporary and very unique. No two projects are same because even if the outcome is going to be same, it can be happening at a different timeline. So few characteristics are, first of all, it's going to be unique. Each project is unique, and then it has got a fixed time, so it is temporary in nature. There is a start and end, and then there is a defined outcome. So that is what the project is about. So now coming to the project management, project manager's role is to meet this objective of what the project was originally supposed to be started or initiated with, right? So that is the main goal of project manager. He has to make sure the objective is met. But the challenges are that for project manager, he has to also balance the expectations of the various stakeholders, and also to be able to manage the project within the budget, and then within the timeline, and then within the scope that has been agreed to be done with. So these are the challenges for the project manager. I suppose the project manager is the one who just manages the project, not that he is going to actually do the delivery of the work itself. So he has to rely on several stakeholders, including the team members, to get the work done. That's where the real challenge comes in.
So I think like for most of us, what we are used to as a project is a group project in school, or like, the teacher will give you an assignment to do, and then you form like a group of 4 or group of 5, and then you do a group project. So is this like much different in scale as compared to a group project, or do you think the same concept holds?
Yes, I think the probably the differences would be in the seriousness of the management of cost, and I mean the people are all going to be paid, so that will also be another the serious aspect. And also the projects are usually between two different organizations, so it becomes much more like a contract between two entities. So it has got a little bit more seriousness, and any failure is going to have an impact on both the organizations. So yeah, the project can be as simple as prepare, I mean, making a program or application for a given requirement, or it can be as complex as say building, constructing a building. It can be like laying the railroads and completing a particular line of the rails. So it can be anything. The project can be anything. Even it can be it can be something like a marriage, conducting a marriage can be seen as a project as well. So anything that has got a defined start and a end, and it completes, right? So as opposed to operations which are an ongoing activity. Say for example, you go to a bank, the cashier work, so that is an operational work, they will be doing it forever, so there is no defined end. But projects all start and end, so any activity that you need to start and complete, and there is a defined outcome, that can be defined as a project. So whereas the school work might not have some of the implications that I'm talking about, like a cost issue or the seriousness of the resource issue or contracting issues, but it is still a project, and still you have got many of the elements of the project management that you have to apply even for a school project.
Okay, so now that tell me how you get to become a project manager specifically, because you had some other jobs before that and now you're retired. So like, why did you become a project manager? So like, was it by chance, or was it something that you actually wanted to do when you started doing it?
Very good question. Yeah, so as I started initially as in the IT, information technology field or IT field. So initially, the initial roles are like computer operations, computer programming is one of the roles. It is an individual contributing role. So you have to contribute whatever you are asked to do. Then it is a natural progression for computer programmer to become a solution architect, to define the solution that needs to be done. Then almost you are taking up like a team lead role. So then you start to grow up and then become managing the delivery of a complete project itself, as either as a solution architect or as a project manager. So solution architect is more on to the technical aspects and the solution aspects, whereas the project manager is more on to how it can be delivered, how the schedule can be maintained, how to manage the cost, how to manage the people, how to take care of the stakeholders, and how to make sure the delivery is done on time, and then we close the project and come out successfully. So it was a natural progression for me, from a programmer to a team lead, and then to a development manager and a solution architect. Finally, I started taking up the project management role, and finally I also became a program manager, which is actually slightly one level up of the project manager. So some cases there are several projects done which are somewhat interlinked. Okay, so when there are interlinked and there are different project managers, so there is a role called program manager who will be supervising all these and managing and helping to integrate all these projects together. So that is where I ended up. So last 20 years I have been doing the project management and the program management role.
Okay. Yeah, so when you joined, what were your you were going through other roles before becoming a project manager, but once you became a project manager, what was your initial expectation of being a project manager? And did it meet your expectations, or did it overwhelm you or subvert whatever you thought was a project manager?
Okay. Yeah, in my case, I was a good programmer, and I was pretty happy with the outcome that I was getting out of programming. I was always very happy to see a program work properly as expected, and to produce the results expected by the customer. So I was always getting satisfied with that. But as I went on to become a project manager, of course, there is something called Project Management Institute, so which has got courses like PMP, Project Management Professional courses. So where they teach the knowledge and the tools and knowledge that you need to become a project manager. So when I initially became the project manager, first thing I did was to enroll myself in the PMI Institute, Project Management Institute, and start to get this PMP certification. So I started understanding what are the various aspects of the project that we need to understand and to manage and to be a successful project manager. Not only that, even though I was working as I say a team lead or a project manager, I was still under another project manager. So I had the opportunity to look at them and watch them and then learn from the others as well. So project management is also not just by going by books and also going by whatever is the current situation and managing it. So in fact, as per the PMI, anything that works is fine as long as you can deliver the project successfully. So it's not necessary that you have to follow all the 10 different steps that they prescribe, but as long as you do a project successfully, you are done. Yes.
So yeah, I guess that is more on the skills that you require or like what you need to do when you become a project manager.
Okay.
But like when you started, do you have like a particular idea? Oh, this is a project manager, but then suddenly you're surprised, or was it as per what you thought it was?
It was as per my expectations. I was expecting it to be a little bit stressful because if you look at a project, basically there are three key elements. One is the scope. Scope is what we are trying to deliver at the end of the project. So that becomes the final deliverable or the result. That is scope. Then there is time element, which is what you have told the customer that I'm going to deliver this project within this time frame, because our projects are usually for customers. So we as an organization deliver projects for customers. So the time was another critical factor. Third critical factor was cost. So we always had a cost associated with the project. So when these three elements need to be managed carefully by the project manager. So anything that changes, say suppose scope increases or the time increases, it's going to impact the cost, which means our margin or the profit will reduce, and we are answerable to several stakeholders. So there is always a stress associated when there's a skill set required to manage it. So it was never a smooth sail as a project manager. There are some projects where you can plan really well and things go very nicely. You can end up completing the project on time, on schedule, but still you'd have undergone the stressful work and a lot of effort that you had to put in. So, and also in projects, there are lots of people factor. There is a stakeholder, which is the customer side of it. There are sponsors and various other user champions who are going to give inputs for the outcome. And then on our own organization side, we have people who are going to work in the project. And then we also sometimes engage subcontractors to do part of the work that we are delivering. So there are various people factor involved. When there are people factor involved, people come with different emotions and different backgrounds. So there will be different outcome from each of them. So you have to really manage all of them. So that's another key things. And there are also external factors, like even now COVID is happening. So there are some external factors which can influence us, influence the project delivery, which also we may have to suddenly face it and then see how to take it forward. So yeah, so it's not all that smooth sailing. You can do projects well if you can really plan well and schedule well, and the resources can deliver what you are expecting them to deliver. But often there are lots of challenges which need to be addressed. And if you have a very cooperative customer, then probably you'll have less stress. And if your management is also supporting, that's also going to help you a lot. So yeah. So it's never going to be an easy job if somebody thinks it's going to be such an easy job, just going and telling, hey, do that, do that. So that will not work for any project, because every project is unique. You have to really come out with the very detailed plan of how to execute each and every project. So even though you might have done one project, you will totally find a different situation in another project. So there will be challenges. You have to be prepared for that. Yes.
So to take away from that, whatever expectation anyone might have, if you think that the project management is going to be easy or it's like the same as doing your school project, it would be good to reconsider that thought and be prepared for a harder job or a much more complicated network of people that you have to deal with.
That's
Right.
a perfectly
Yeah.
good understanding. Yes.
Yeah, so now let us talk about people who want to become project managers in the future. So you mentioned the PMI. So first, is that a requirement? And second, are there any other skills or subjects that will help you in becoming a project manager?
Okay. So now there are some changes in the project management aspects as well. Earlier there used to be kind of a waterfall way of delivering projects. That means when you deliver a project, first you understand the requirements, then you do the design, then you do the construction, you do the testing, then you deliver. So it was like a waterfall. You do one step, get it signed off, go to the next step, get it signed off, and so on. So then the project management aspects are much more critical in this case, because you have to make sure all the processes are followed properly. You get acceptance at every stage. You make sure that the scope creep is not happening, because you are capturing the requirement very early. So there may be changes coming later on. So change management is another aspect that needs to be managed well. But recently what has happened is there is something new that is coming up now. It's called agile development. So in which case the scope part of the project is kept like a flexible and open item. So as we go along, so it's more of fixed number of cycles that we sign up with the customer. So we may say I'll be doing like 24 cycles of say 2 weeks each, and whatever we can do in that 24 weeks with the two weeks cycle, that's what I'm going to deliver. But customer, hey, you tell me what you want. So we start with a set of requirements, and then as we go along, we can elaborate, we can change, they can change their mind, they can go back and change and all that. So in these cases, the project management role itself is slightly changing. So it's not like the traditional project management role, but still other aspects of the project management will still be there. So first thing is, if you want to become a project management professional, one of the things is definitely the PMI Institute and the Project Management Professional Certification. You can look at PMP. The other aspect is there are different project management methodologies as well that you can explore. So there are various other certifications available. So that one you can look at. Plus you can also look at for Agile itself, there are specific roles like a Scrum Master or product master roles and things like that. So those are the other things that you can look at specifically for the Agile methodology. Okay, so you can go explore those options and then decide where you want to go. And for the project management itself, there are different methodologies available, which we can give the names later on, but so those also you can try to explore.
So these are available to fresh graduates or anyone who is willing to do it. They can enroll in the PMI or?
Yes, so anybody willing to do can enroll. There might be some basic qualifications. I cannot remember now. Probably graduation might be required. So, and also they will expect that you have worked for certain durations. You would have done some contributions in some of the aspects of the project management, like scope management. You should have done like so many hours. So I think only those who are working individuals might be able to do the PMP, if I am not wrong. But I will suggest that you go and explore that and see the prerequisites for PMP itself.
Okay. So yeah, you're in the IT industry. So do you think like the idea of what a project manager does changes with regards to industry, or is it more of the technical parts of it that changes?
There is absolutely no variations in the sense of what the project manager processes or the knowledge areas. So that will all be same for all industries. So if you look at the project management knowledge areas, it is a scope management, which is what you have to do to deliver something. There's the time management, so which is the schedule aspects of it, and the cost management. So these are the three critical components. Then there is always the human resources management. Then there is a stakeholder management. There is a communication management. There is a risk management. Then there is a procurement management. So which is basically how you procure things, like maybe a software or a hardware or probably even the services of another organizations. So then integrating them all together. So these are the various knowledge areas where say the PMP will teach these are the processes that you need to follow, and then every organization will have their own templates to follow. So these are just processes, right? So process can be executed in whatever way you want, but where the organizations will come into picture is they will have their own templates, their own prescribed way of doing things. That is where the organization to organization it varies. So these processes are there, and then you always have like process groups like initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closing the project. So this will also be a common set of things. So this can be applied say to a IT project or say to a construction project. But what varies in a majority way is what the product you are going to deliver. So as a project manager, if I may be aware of say IT project, right? So when I deliver a project where I'm going to do application development, I already know there are some steps: requirement gathering, design, you have to do development, you have to do unit testing, then you have to do quality assurance, internal quality assurance, then you have to do acceptance testing, you have to install. So these are things which I already know. So I can, when I do scheduling, I can work out these things. Suppose if you're asking me to do project management for say construction of a building, then I need to understand the processes for doing say a construction of a building, right? So it can be like setting up and preparing the basement, and then coming up with the walls and things like that. So there can be lots of other different phases to build actually a building. And then maybe you come out with say for a biomedical, you want to come out with a pharmaceutical product. So there can be an initial phase where we are doing some experimentation and coming out with a prototype. So that project itself will have different steps involved. So it will be good if the project manager has an awareness of the industry where he is going to work. So if he has an idea of what is the end product, that will definitely help. But however, this can be complemented. There is a solution architect who can work with the project manager and explain, and then the project manager can understand and do it. So it is possible, but working in that field then gives you the familiarity, and then you can start to proactively start thinking, hey, this is what is required for this, so I need to consider this. So there will be advantages of knowing that product and knowing that industry. But all project managers have to do and follow certain processes and steps which are pretty common.
Yeah, so in summary, if let's say you're a fresh graduate, it would be best to apply to a company that is similar to what you studied or what you understand. But even if that's not the case, you should try to find ways to understand what you're going to do before you become a project manager.
Absolutely.
So that's the summary of that.
Absolutely. For example, I became project manager in a semiconductor manufacturing. I didn't have much of background for semiconductor manufacturing, but as part of our initial orientation, we were told these are the various steps for semiconductor processing. So understanding that, then gives us an idea why we are doing certain things. So yeah, so any industry you want to go into, better get an idea about the industry, along with your project management, then you'll be in a better place. Yeah.
Okay, so I think you've mentioned a bit about it already, but like, what is the general career progression to become a project manager, or even if you happen to start as a project manager, is that possible?
Yes, definitely possible. You can start as a project manager. Probably when you initially start, they may consider you as a junior project manager. Probably you will have a big brother or somebody who supports you initially. Maybe they will put you as a junior project manager, and then let you learn the organization's tool sets and the way the organization does the work. So even after you do the project management professional certification, you have to understand how the particular company where you are going to join is going to execute the project. So that learning also will take some time. So once you become an independent project manager, initially you will start to get projects which are smaller in nature in terms of, say, the cost. Say it can be a 1 million project. Then slowly you may progress into a 5 million project with same and then the team size also can vary. Initially you may start with 8 people, then suddenly and slowly you can become like managing a project with 50 people. Then the other aspect of the complexity is the subcontractors. So maybe initially you may get a project which is just a project which involves only your own organization's people, but slowly as you progress, you may get to work with subcontracting for other firms and subcontract them and work with them together. So that way you will be entering into more and more complex project execution. So once you reach a certain level of project management maturity, then you can lead into the next level of program management. So by completing this project management journey, so you would understand, would understood, what are the things to be done, and what are the processes to follow. So you can start to advise other project managers, and then you can also help to monitor the program at a program level. You can monitor projects, not really getting into lots of details. So the day-to-day running will still be done by the respective project manager, but as a program manager, you look at the whole holistic picture, and then also you help to say this project, there is something going on. So you can tell the other project manager who is impacted, to look at that, and then ask them to work together. So program management is another next level of the project manager. And finally, there is something called portfolio management. So you can become a portfolio manager for a particular account, your customer account. You can start to give the customer, what are the products that are available, what can be the roadmap for future. You can start to think about their future for them, and then propose them. They can venture into these kinds of projects. So you can go into a portfolio manager and manage an entire account itself. Yeah, so those are various things that you can become. And the only thing is, as you take up more and more bigger roles and more responsible roles, you have to also be prepared to manage the challenges associated and the stress associated with that. So it's up to you to decide how far you want to go. You can remain as a programmer and then become a solution architect and get into a technical career if you like it. Or if you like these management aspect of it, you can become a project manager, become a program manager, and start to manage accounts and so on. It's up to you where you like it and where you will enjoy doing things. It's not about just becoming, looking for a bigger and bigger roles. So you have to also manage between your stress and the work that you are going to do and what you get out of all this in terms of, say, dollars, right? So you have to balance all this, and work-life balance is very, very important. At the end of the day, you have to worry about your health and make sure that you don't unnecessarily get invite very heavy roles that later you may find it tougher to manage. So you have to be very cautious about it, and as you become comfortable at a certain level, you can start to ask for more and more things.
Yeah, so I think as you mentioned, there are some things to consider before you become a project manager. So what are some of the things that maybe you join but like you don't usually consider it, like the caveats of being a project manager? I think especially you mentioned about the stress and work-life balance. So I guess you can explain a bit more
Yeah.
on that.
Yes, there are a few characteristics for a project manager. You have to be detailed. So if somebody is not going to be detailed, please don't become a project manager. So you have to be detailed. So what we usually start is we get something called requirement. So which is like 40-50 pages. It can even be 100 pages. If you cannot go through the 100 pages and catch the key points, then that's going to be a challenge. So you have to be prepared to do a lot of reading and understand what is the requirement that is the customer has put in. Then the next step is the solution that the company which is going to do the project, so they will put in the solution. So you should be able to understand that as well as the solution that is put in, and you should also have some knack of understanding, are there any loopholes in all this. So you should be able to visualize that. Then as project manager, you have to do the planning. So if you have to be a good planner. So you have to start thinking, say, this is the end product. So how do I break it down into smaller components, and what is required to do each of these components? So you should be able to break down and work out those details. So you really need to be a detailed person, a structured person, and then you have to have interest for doing detailed planning and coming out with detailed working. So those are the things that are very essential. Plus, lot of soft skills are required for this. So you are going to manage people. So you really need a very good team communication and as well as a team working mentality. So there will be a lot of issues coming up. You have to have a collaborative way of resolving the issues. And also manage the expectations of the different individuals that are involved. Some of them will have different interests. So whereas your interest is to complete the project on time and within the cost, but other individuals may not have the same interest. They may want to extend the project, or they may have other interests. So you have to really manage the expectations of the different individuals as well. So you have to have the soft skill of managing the people, and you have to be detailed, you have to be structured, and then you got to have the soft skills of doing a meeting, or managing stakeholders, and then exchanging information. You have to also share the status to various different kinds of people. It can be very top level management, or to a detailed set of people who will ask more questions. Top management don't need a lot of information, so you have to know what information to give to who. And also you have to have a feeling for risk management. That is another key aspect. You have to forecast the risks and then start to manage them. So these are the skills that are really required. So there are some people who are not good with planning, so they just want to come and talk and may not even do hands-on planning or preparation. Then you may find it a bit difficult. You may be dependent on others to do your job. So maybe asking your juniors to prepare your schedule. Then you cannot really rely so much on what is coming out of somebody else. They may have their own interest. So these are the things you need to have, and you have to be prepared for this. And you have to say that you will be questioned by your own management, you'll be questioned by the customers, you'll be questioned by the team, and of course you have your own family and work. So there will be pressure coming from all the areas, and you have to manage them, balance them well. So so how you have the relationship with each of these is very critical. If anything is not managed very well, then it will end up in stress. So apart from knowing the actual project management aspects, these aspects are also very, very important.
Yeah, so I guess in summary, actually I did want to ask about the skills earlier, so you told it now. So the skills that you need are the leadership skills, which actually can be learned in university as well. There are probably some modules that exist in the university to learn them.
Mm-hmm.
And also to practice it in your own group projects.
Mm-hmm.
And apart from that, the ability to talk with different people, like adaptability, if you know what they require, what information they require, and how you should present the information, and also you should be able to present it without feeling shy or holding back or anything like that. So I think those are the skills in summary.
That's a very good thing that you told. Yeah, you have to be a leader, not a manager. For the project manager, you have to lead the team. So leadership, communication skills, and all the people management skills are all necessary. Apart from the project management skills itself, like contracting, risk management, scope management, schedule management, those are other aspects, but these soft skills are also very, very essential. All of this can be acquired, but basically as nature you have to be an outward, you cannot be an introvert, so you have to be open up, and you cannot feel shy, and also you have to start getting and start to be in the front all the time, and start to bring the team with you. So you cannot expect somebody else to lead for you. When you are doing a project, you are in the front and you are leading.
Yeah, basically if you're introvert like me, well, just try to, you don't have to be super extroverted, but you need to just learn how to talk out to people, and just because especially in terms of the work that you're doing, you'll be able to talk about it without much issue. So don't worry. I guess even introverts can be project managers if they take the efforts to learn how to speak up and to communicate well. And I think another skill that would be required, because you have to meet a lot of people and do that kind of thing, is in the COVID time you need to Zoom and Skype or or even Microsoft Teams.
Okay, so for the project management itself, there are various tools that you will be using. Microsoft tools, of course, are like fundamentals. Like you may have to use the Excel, you may have to use the PowerPoint. A lot of PowerPoint you have to use as a project manager, and then Word documents. And then there is also something called Microsoft Project, which you may have to use to build your schedule. And then sometime we also use something called Microsoft Visio for drawings. So yeah, there are various tools that you need to use, but yeah, those all can easily be learned. So that's not a big problem. But organizations also may have their own applications which are used for tracking the projects within the organization. So that will be taught to you as you enter into any organization.
Okay, so I think as a final question, what are the advantages and disadvantages of being a project manager? Not only in terms of what you learn, but also in the practical aspect or in other aspects of life.
Okay, so ultimately, if a project is successful, as a project manager, you are definitely going to be appreciated. That's probably one of the positive aspects, because if you see in the project, the actual work is done by various other individuals, not by the project manager. The project manager is the one who plans, who does the scheduling, who makes sure everybody is working, and so on and so forth. But actual work, technical work, is done by different individuals. But if everybody understands that project management is a very critical role, so if a project is successful, definitely you will be in the forefront and you will be appreciated. So that is definitely a positive side of it. And then of course, project managers, if I am not wrong, are also well paid, better than many of the other roles that are there in the IT field. So you will be well paid, and there is also good amount of requirement for project managers. So it's possible to get another project management job anywhere. So there is quite a bit of demand for good project managers. So those are some of the advantages.
So the disadvantages?
As I mentioned, you may have to work extra hours, or face some stress, and manage people with the different emotions and feelings, and sometimes there will be issues beyond your control, like in the case of, say, COVID-19. So you have to be able to manage those situations, and really there can be somebody who is getting sick suddenly. So all your project activities may get disturbed because of that. So you should be able to look ahead all these risk cases and should be able to manage. So those are some stressful situations that you will face, and you should be able to manage it. And usually we find a lot of extra time or out of office work will be there, so you have to be prepared for that. And sometime when you manage people, you have to be prepared to be somewhat gentle with them, and then you have to forego your ego. And then even if something has happened, some errors have happened, you should be able to accept it and move along. So that those kinds of mentalities should be definitely acquired. Yes.
Okay, so I think with that we have almost at the end. So do you have any closing thoughts for, the either university students or even, I don't know if JC students think about this, but whoever is thinking of becoming a project manager, do you have any final thoughts to leave behind?
Okay. So whoever is thinking of taking up the project management role, so I'll first of all ask them to look at the current trends in the project execution now, and also think of a field where they want to, industry where they want to work. Suppose they are more interested in the, say, construction industry. There will be a lot of information and material available on project manager for construction industry, and it could be totally different, I can tell you that, because they may have to know a lot of technical details, and the project plan itself will look totally different. Suppose you are on to IT industry, better to know what kind of IT applications or infrastructure that you want to get into. So you better do some homework before you, while you are acquiring the project management skills and becoming certified. You also start thinking about the industry that you want to go, and get to know that industry as well. So that will help you a lot. And also be updated with what's going on in the IT field. If you are into IT field, definitely get updated with what's going on in the IT field. As that's one of the things. Another challenge for project manager is lots of things will be changing, and you have to be very open. You have to have a growth mindset to keep learning. So that's very, very important, particularly in IT industry. So some industries you can be doing the same thing for 20 years, but in IT industry nothing has lasts even like 2-3 years. You have to start thinking about new things will come into picture, and as project manager you have to also follow that. So that's very important, otherwise you'll be left out, and that will be a challenge. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I think with that we've come to the end of the interview. So if you guys have any other questions, you can comment down below in the the YouTube comments, or you can PM me in Reddit or elsewhere, and I'll just ask him to help answer some of the questions if you do have any. And if you guys would like to see more of such interviews with more professionals, do like the video and comment below as well. And yeah, I hope you guys found this video very useful, and if you did, press the like button and subscribe. And with that, I would like to say thank you and bye.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's a privilege for me to be in this show. Thank you. All the best to you.